Lupita Nyong'o narrates the nature documentary series Serengeti, which aired on Discovery. It takes a kind of human storytelling approach to the lives and relationships of the animals, which gives the audience a different way to relate to wildlife than we get in a lot of other nature documentaries. First off, what did you think about that approach?
Well, I thought it was cute. I liked. It seemed like a really interesting way to, and an exciting way to have people relate more closely with other species. And yeah, I like that idea. And when I saw the documentary, I saw its effect.
And at times, you're kind of narrating the show almost from the point of view of the Serengeti itself. Like, this is our story. So was there a lot of pressure? Did you feel like to sort of personify the landscape, and even more than just telling the story of the animals?
The challenge for me as an actor was being omniscient, and having that kind of a neutrality, but also finding the empathy in that neutrality. Because in a documentary like this, a nature documentary, you can't really be commenting on what's going on, and irony is like something you have to avoid at all costs. So you have to straddle the line between informing the audience and commenting on what's happening. So that was a challenge, I would say. And of course, moving from one group of animals to the next, and showing empathy for all of them, predator and prey alike.
And we do get to see the families of predator and prey, like you say, and it does present the audience with a kind of a kind of dilemma, like a personal dilemma. You're watching these things, you want the families to survive because they're living things and they have, children to feed and families. And so when, for one species to win, or for one animal to win, sometimes another animal has to lose. What was it like sort of watching it from that mindset and sort of feeling like your sympathies are with everything, and sometimes it's just hard to see nature at work when that happens?
Yeah, it is hard to see nature at work, and it's hard to be watching something and not be asked to take sides. I mean, in traditional narrative, fictitious narrative, or even like documentary about humans, you find yourself taking sides. There's a good guy and a bad guy. But in this, there's no good guys or bad guys. There's just guys trying to survive, And so I was torn in many circumstances, especially when you've been rooting for, say, Kali, the lioness, in this one scene, and then she meets up with the hyena, and all of a sudden you don't know whose side to be on. You don't know you want to win the prey. But how cool! What a wonderful dramatic tension to have to experience, and then to arrive at acceptance of the course of life at the end of it all.
Has nature and wildlife and conservation, have those always been things that have you been interested in or passionate about, or did this series kind of really bring out a lot of interest that wasn't already there?
Oh, I've loved nature and been interacting with nature since I was really little. I grew up in Kenya, and so the Serengeti is right across the border. I've never been there, but I spent my youth going on safaris on school trips and with family and so on. So I'm very familiar with the safari experience, and I fell in love with elephants when I was really young. I performed a song to help save the elephants when I was like 5, and so I've always had an affinity for nature. So for me, this was like a dream I hadn't even dreamed yet coming true. I didn't know that women do voiceovers for documentaries. I certainly had never heard an African woman's voice in it. So there was a novelty to it, and it felt like kind of like an opening to be able to embrace and represent something that I feel is my national heritage.
And as an actress, who is used to, using your entire arsenal of your physicality, your face, your body, when you're narrating, it's all about the voice. How is that challenge different for an actor compared to other kinds of live action performances that you've given?
Well, in documentary and in voiceover of this nature, your expression comes through tempo, tone, rhythm, volume, and emphasis, And so those were the tools that I had to learn to use and to depend on. Whereas, of course, when you're acting with your body and your face, you have those tools as well. But it was nice to be able to identify these ways, these vocal ways of representing these things and using them to my advantage.
And how long is the process of recording the narration for a show like this? Is it a lot of takes? Is it long days? And what is that logistically like?
They definitely were. What I would say is that John Downer overestimated my abilities on the first day. They scheduled way too little time, and I needed to learn how to do it. It's not just about reading the script. There's so much space in between within one sentence. And so it's about playback and figuring out the rhythm of your voice, the pace at which you're saying things to the shot, to the music, to that tone and that mood. So it took some calibrating. So I definitely got better and faster and more efficient as I went along, but it was a steep learning curve. I'd never done anything like that. And it also is very exhausting for the voice, to just be speaking nonstop for some 6-8 hours a day.
And watching these animal stories and extending our empathy to so many different kinds of creatures with so many different kinds of experiences, do you feel like that sort of puts the human experience into perspective? Because I definitely noticed watching it, I could feel myself seeing the world from points of view that I wasn't necessarily accustomed to.
Well, I think this documentary it's humans extending themselves to other species in order to relate more closely with our own experience. So, you go far away to come right back. And it's definitely, I think, rewarding and useful to experience other species go through approximations of the things that we go through, because you're reminded, oh my God, I'm not alone, and that there's more than one kind of animal on this planet that is going through the things I'm going through, the fears, the ambition, the angers, the drive, all of that. It was particularly interesting to be rooting for both the predator and the prey at the same time.
And do you have there's so many different animals featured in it. Was there any one story or any one animal that you felt especially connected to over the course of telling these stories and watching their experiences?
Well, I had a very soft spot for Bakari, the baboon who adopts an orphaned little baby baboon, and his story to survive and to protect this animal was very touching. And it's a natural representation of the modern family, and to see that kind of thing happens, that animals adopt other animals was really touching, and made that feel a lot less of a shock that we do that as humans. It was kind of validating to see that and the baboon um, species. And then I also really enjoyed Kali and the lions, and her fight to her determination to provide for her kids even once she was banished from the rest of the pride, and and the journey back to the pride. Again, another kind of modern family, and that's so similar to things we experience as human beings.
And that is another interesting thing about seeing these animal communities is how much power and leadership we see from the female animals. The hyenas are led by their female members, and of course Kali, the lion, is fighting for the survival of her cubs. What was it like to kind of see that, like, nature in a way is sort of more equitable naturally than the human race often is?
Well, I think what I kept thinking is like, okay, these guys have their roles down pat, like in the lion pride, you have both male and female are responsible for keeping the pride alive. The males keep the pride alive by protecting the pride from other lions, and the females keep the pride alive by providing the food for their children, as well as protecting the pride from other animals. And I just thought, wow, how powerful that is, that both male and female play a role in the survival of the family. And that was just really powerful, and something I felt like we should definitely remind ourselves that we all have a role to play, and it is important and vital for our survival.
And music plays an important role in the emotional impact of the series. Was that something you were able to kind of experience while recording the narration, or was that something that was recorded later and that you saw it all put together later?
I was quite the lucky duck, because everything was there already. I mean, the edit was pretty much locked, and there was music, and there was also a voiceover placeholder voiceover. And so I was able, when I got offered this, I was able to watch the entire docu-series and get a sense of it. And the music is so important because it really sets the mood and the tone, and it complements the tempo of things going on. So for me, as I prepared, it was about also adding my voice to complement what was already there, to work in tandem with the music. And it was really beautiful. I still have, it's a very memorable score, I still have refrains from it that come to my head so easily, like Serengeti.
And what do you hope people watching this take away from this experience? If not necessarily a lesson or anything, but what do you want them to kind of feel about the kind of natural world around them? Well,
for me, the experience of going through this docu-series, I felt full. It's a very expansive world, the Serengeti, and the style of the documentary is equally expansive, and it's expansive but intimate at the same time. There's something about that juxtaposition, if you will, that makes it so fulfilling to go through. And so I mean, I hope that it's enjoyable and an enjoyable ride for people to go on, and that I hope they can just reckon with how close we are to other species that walk the earth, that really our experiences, we're only separated because we choose to be.
And before I let you go, I wanted to also let you know at Gold Derby, we every year thousands of our readers vote for the best films of the year. And earlier this year, you actually won Best Actress for Us.
I know.
And Best Supporting Actress of the Decade for 12 Years a Slave. So I wanted to congratulate you about those now that I'm talking to you here.
Thank you so much. Yes, of course, I heard the news and I was thrilled. I shared it with my family, and my mother, she was so moved that her little baby had been recognized in this way. So thank you very much.
And congratulations on Serengeti as well. And thank you so much for talking with me today. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. All the best. Stay safe.
Yeah, you too. Stay safe.
COVID free.
Yes. Fingers crossed.